If you're going to be in the market to buy a home and you need to hire a real estate agent, I got you covered. In this video, I'm going to talk about the 10 questions your agent never wants to hear when you're buying a home. And the reason why I say they never want to hear, some of these questions may make them cringe, but you know what? It's okay to ask these questions because you want to make sure you're hiring a true dedicated professional. So let's dive into this list right now. Before we get into this, I just want to explain to you about the 20% agent. You've heard me talk about the 20% agent on my live streams before, and I have to give credit where credit is due. That is coined by my good friend, Jen Sylvester. And if you haven't watched Jen's channel, she talks about selling homes. You got to go check out her channel. But anyway, I digress. The term 20% agent means that you are going to be working with a top dedicated professional. Because unfortunately in our industry, 80% of the agents, they're not so good. I gotta be honest with you, they're not so good. They're lazy, or some of them are shady, and they're just doing whatever they can to get that commission. And they will push buyers to overlook things in a home just to say, you know, oh, it's okay. You'll be fine. Let's just close the deal. You know, that's not who you want to work with. So I came up with this list of these 10 questions for you to ask when you're interviewing a buyer's agent, and this will help you determine if you got a 20% agent or not. Question number 1, you want to ask, what are your fees? And why are we bringing this up? Because as you all know, August of last year, we had all the rules changed. There's a law now where you have to sign a buyer agency agreement with whoever you hire. Now, it's important to determine what their fees are. Okay, some may charge 3%, some 2.5%, some 2%. You have the right to negotiate that fee with them. So first and foremost, ask that question, what are your fees? And let me dive into that buyer agency agreement a little bit more. As far as the term goes, now you can agree to whatever. You can do 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, a month, what have you. You have every right to negotiate that. You can ask the agent, you know, what is your typical length of time for an agreement? Like me personally, I'll do 6 months. All right. And if somebody wants to do shorter, I'm totally fine with that. If you want to do less, do 3 months, totally fine with that. So make sure you ask those questions. How long is the term of the agreement? Another thing I want to bring up regarding this buyer agency agreement is when you're talking to the agent, you want to ask the hard question that if you find that this isn't working out, and if you don't want to work with this agent anymore, how do we go about canceling the agreement? And I'm going to tell you this right now. You have every right to terminate that agreement, even if it's before the end term. So say if you have it for 6 months and 3 months into it, you're like, you know what, I'm not feeling it. I don't think this is working. You can cancel that in writing, and you got to make sure you have that conversation with the agent. And the reason I'm bringing this up is you've heard me talk about it before. A lot of agents are not talking about that. They're kind of glazing over that part of the agreement. You can cancel it prior to the term's termination date. You can totally do that. So make sure you have that conversation with them and make sure that, you know, they understand that you're aware of that you can back out of that agreement at any time. Question number 2 you want to ask is, how do you handle multiple offers and bidding wars? Now, this is really for those people who are still in the strong sellers markets, like up here in the Northeast and even parts of California. There are a lot of markets out there where we're still seeing the bidding wars, right? So you want to know, how are you going to do this? How are you going to handle a bidding war? What you want to ask is, are you in favor of waiving inspections, waiving the appraisal? This is a big one because especially here in my market, people are still waiving inspections. It's insane. I know, but they're doing it. But if you have a real estate agent that's going to say, well, you know, in order to compete in this market and in order to win the house, you're going to have to waive everything in order to get it. No, you don't. Just know that you don't have to. And I will not allow my clients to waive inspections. It's too important. Now you can ask about limiting inspections, okay, where you're just looking at the major things, structure, environmental, mechanical, safety. Those are things that you can put in a contract that, you know, you're going to look at for the inspections. But if an agent is saying, oh, in order for you to get the house, you have to waive all these things, Nope. That's a sign of an 80% agent. No, absolutely not. So those are very important things to ask them as far as waiving appraisals and inspections. And what that agent should be doing is creating and structuring your offer based on your needs too. Okay. Yeah, we want to appeal to the seller, but you want to make sure you're protected too. Number 3, this is a good one. How do you help identify red flags on a property? You got to remember, your real estate agent is there to be your eyes and ears when they're looking at a home. Okay. Super, super important. So, because a lot of you first timers, you don't know what to look for in a house, and you may see things that look kind of odd to you, and you're going to ask a lot of questions. Your real estate agent should be looking for any defects in the home, right? I know this is what I do. And here's a perfect example. Literally just last week, I was out with my buyer clients and we were looking at this house. Adorable, so cute. It was totally redone. It was a great house. So the seller's disclosure was left on the kitchen table for all the buyers to see. So we were reading through it. The first thing that glared at me is on the seller's disclosure. The sellers put down that they did not know the age of the roof. Yeah. So when I had checked the history on this property before we saw it, I saw that these owners had bought this house maybe about 7 or 8 years ago, and the prior owners had owned it like a number of years prior to them. So that was a red flag to me, because I said to my clients, you know what? This roof could be around 25 years old. It could be reaching the end of its life. And as much as the rest of this house looks amazing, that's a problem. And we knew that this was going to go into multiple offers, bidding war. I mean, hello, New Jersey, what else is new? But I wanted to bring this to their attention because they were going to have to replace that roof within a couple of years. They will. And the biggest reason being that they have to replace it is because of the homeowners insurance issue we are having. A lot of homeowners are losing their insurance because of older roofs. So I brought this up with them. I said, you know, it's a great house. And if we go in and we make an offer and it's accepted, the first thing we're going to do is get a licensed roofer in here to check that roof and evaluate it and to see how much life is left on it. These are things you got to be proactive with this, because I've heard so many stories of people closing on their house and a month later they're losing their homeowners insurance because of an older roof. So these are things that your real estate agent should be looking for and bringing to your attention. If they're glossing over stuff like that, that's a big problem. Now, you want to hear that answer, that these are the things they're going to do to help identify red flags, and ask for examples like I just gave you. Ask for examples. Number 4, how long have you been working in real estate and how many buyers have you represented recently? This is a good one, but there are some things I will tell you, a seasoned agent versus a newer agent. So if you ask that question, how many years have you been in the business? You know, you might get a newer agent that says, oh, I've been doing this for a year, 2 years. But if they are actively working and they're closing deals, they do have a little experience going on there. They know what they're doing. And if they're working actively in the market today, they could still be a really good agent. Okay. And I mean, there are some seasoned agents out there. They'll tell you, oh, I've been in the business for 35 years, but you know, they may not be as active right now, or they may tell you, yeah, I don't really like to work with first-time buyers. I get that a lot. I hear that a lot from agents. They don't want to work with first-timers. I'm like, okay, you know, good on you, I guess. But while it's important to ask that question, how long they've been in the business, just keep that in mind. And that leads me to the next thing about, like, you know, how many buyers have you represented? This is important too, because especially in the market, wherever you're in, whether it be a strong seller's market or that's shifting to a buyer's market, you want to know if they're actively involved in the current market, because they got to know what they're doing, right? They got to know how to be able to handle the offers and handle, you know, negotiating and all the things. Now, to add to that, you will hear that, you know, some agents, or you'll see on their, you know, Zillow profile that they do have a lot of listings. That's not a bad thing. And here's why. Now, I generally work with buyers. I love my buyers. I do take on listings as well. I do like working with sellers because it does show me the other side of what sellers are looking for when they're working with their buyers and when they're looking at offers. So I'm bringing that knowledge to my buyers too, to manage their expectations. You know, I'll say, you know, look, I worked with sellers. This is typically what they look for. You got to understand, you know, and I try to explain to them like the emotional process that the sellers are going through as well. It's emotional for the buyers, but think about it for the sellers, especially those who have lived in the house for 30 something years and they have all of these memories tied to it. It's tough. So if you see an agent that is doing a lot of listings too, that's okay. They don't specifically have to just work with buyers only. They don't have to do that. It's okay if they want to, if they have listings, because they bring that perspective of the sellers to the table, right? To share that with you, the buyer, so you fully understand what to expect. Question number 5, what is your strategy to help me compete within this market? Now, that could go for either working in the seller's market like we have going on in the Northeast, or if you're in those markets where it's softened and things are really slowing down. Again, you want them to be able to structure the offer based on your situation, your financials, okay? Don't let them convince you that you have to go 100,000, 150,000 over asking, okay? You might see some comps like that, and they should be pulling comps for you to help determine what would be the best approach, the best offer. Same goes now when you're going to be in a market where it's more shifting towards a buyer's market. That real estate agent should be structuring that offer to help benefit you. You're the one who has leverage, right, in a buyer's market. So, hey, can we ask for concessions towards closing costs? Can they help pay for my rate buy down? So those are the things they should be looking at to help benefit you, but also help you secure the home. Number 6, can you recommend other professionals such as lenders, home inspectors, engineers, what have you? The biggest piece of information you want to get out of this question is, who are these people that they are referring, and are they a friend or a family member? Seen this a lot where realtors are just going to recommend, their cousin, their best friend's husband who's a home inspector, and maybe they're good, maybe they are, but be careful of that. They're just trying to throw their friend's business. So you want to make sure that these are professionals that they've used in the past with other clients. Me and myself, I do have people that I do recommend my clients to. Sometimes they choose them, sometimes they don't, and that's totally okay. I never force them on them. But the reason I keep going back and referring these same professionals is because they do a good job, and my prior clients were very happy with them. So that's what brings me back to keep referring them. And you know what? They're going to work really hard every time I refer them, because they know that I have a reputation to uphold, and they do too, right? They're true professionals. So this is what you want to know. You want to know, are these professionals that they've worked with on transactions, and they're not just a friend or a family member? Number 7, you want to ask this one: what sets you apart from other agents? I mean, come on, this is really a job interview, right? Do you feel like these are job interview questions? Good, because that's what these are. When you're asking that, be careful. I mean, you're going to hear people say, well, I'm number 1 in my market. I did $21 million in sales last year, and, I'm the top agent in my town. That's great. But what you should be looking for is what your needs are. What are you looking for in an agent? Okay. Do you want somebody that's tech savvy? That emails and does the voice to text thing, all of that stuff, right? They know how to navigate the websites. They know how to navigate all different technical things. Do you want somebody that's personable, yet a strong negotiator? Do you want somebody who's a shark that's just, all business and doesn't care? They're just going to go in there and really work hard on your behalf. You have to come up with a list, like, what is it that you're looking for in an agent? And ask the question, what sets you apart? And if any of those things come up that you're looking for, then that you've found yourself the right agent. Number 8, this is a really important one. You want to ask them, are you familiar with the neighborhood or the market that I am looking to buy a house in? Super, super important that you get a local agent. Now, I will admit, sometimes I do sell homes. I've helped buyers purchase homes outside of my market area. And before I do that, I will do my research on that market. I mean, pretty much here in Jersey, everything's the same as far as houses selling and multiple offers. I mean, it's no different, but I do try to dive a little deep into the neighborhoods and try to figure out, what's a good area, what's a good street, and things like that. But if there's a particular town that you're interested in and you really would just want to hone in on that town, I think it is a good idea that you find an agent that is local to that specific market. Because if that's the market that they dominate and they know really well, they may have some inside information about new homes coming on the market. They might know some things like new projects that are coming up, like if they're building a new park or they're, putting in a new public pool or whatever in the area. They're going to know the ins and outs of that town. So it's super important that that agent does know that market. Now, if they don't, say they're a few towns over, like in my situation, and, ask them, have you sold homes? Have you helped people purchase homes in these towns? And if they say yes, okay, fine. So then they do have some knowledge about it, but make sure that they do know that local market. Okay, number 9. I don't know how some agents are going to feel about this one, but I don't care.
But I don't care.
You want to ask, can you see reviews or can you speak with their past clients? Yeah. So basically references, right? So think about it. When you're interviewing for a job, you're applying for a job, the company wants to see your references. So it's the same thing here, right? Real estate agents, we're interviewing for a job. So be forthcoming, offer the references to them. Seriously. And you as a buyer, you should reach out to these people that they've represented and get the skinny. How was your experience? So what did you think? And how did they handle certain situations? Yeah, I think it's super important and you should be doing that. Definitely ask that question. And number 10, this one is really super important. I say the best for last. You want to ask, are you a full-time agent or are you a part-time agent? This is key because in the last 5 years, a lot of real estate agents got into the business, are brand new. Some took it on as a side gig, side hustle. So a lot of them will have a full-time job and then they're doing this on the side. Look, if you see a house come on the market and it's a hot market and you want to see it Wednesday at 3:00, but your agent is working till 6 and you can't go see it at 6, you can only wait till the weekend and God only knows the house could be gone by then. Yeah, that's not somebody you want to work with. You want to make sure that they are full-time, okay? And that they are available at any time to go show a house. So there, I said it. I hope you found these questions valuable and you will use them in your search for a real estate agent. By the way, if you need to be connected to a real estate agent in your market, click that link down below, fill out the forms, and I will get back to you as soon as possible, and I'll get you connected to a real estate agent in your market. Thank you so much for watching me today to get your dose of real estate reality. My name is Jackie Baker, and I will see you next time.